And we are live back on the Money Line Monaco podcast. Alex Monaco joining you. I am so excited here to take a hot route, Red 7 Wedding Crashers pivot here. We've been all in NFL, rightfully so. I cover for a living basketball from a betting perspective, of course, on the MSG networks across all boards from a sports perspective, but all things Knicks and then some. So I watch a lot of ball. I talk a lot of NBA. I bet a lot of NBA. And I am from Southern California and a diehard Los Angeles Lakers fan. And I have to rip a take on the LA Lakers and everything that I have seen in one game under JJ Redick, and I am so fired up to rip this take, ink it on the board. This is all futures based. This is not just what I saw as a fan. This is how we're going to make money together as bettors off of what was so clear and so evident on one Costco sample of a new coach at the helm in the Lakers locker room, showing up and showing out. Mr. JJ Knows Ball Redick, unbelievable. Taking Austin Powers bow debut. Welcome back to the Moneyline Monaco podcast. Alex Monaco join you. Please subscribe, rate, review. Listen, I know it's one game, and I know Minnesota was involved in a cat trade, reshuffled the deck, Randall, Devo, new team, got to implement roles, got to work on flow. Sure, I'll give you that out. I'm not just talking, though, one game against Minnesota and my POV on that. I'm sitting here going, okay, I'm connecting the dots. I'm really sitting back going, you know what? How many scenarios in the NBA that we have right now, in the Fed NBA, where is there parity like the NFL? Quite frankly, I'm going to say no, still not even close. It was a Warriors, Cleveland, back and forth, LeBron versus the Curry Splash Brothers and the boys for years. Then we've seen, all right, a little bit of difference here. We've seen Denver 2 years ago. We've seen Boston last year. So, yes, it's maybe starting to trend in the more 6 to 12 teams got a shot direction than a college football Fab Four, which is great. But what I'm basically saying is we come into this season, it's Boston Celtics basketball and everybody else. And we're looking at a reshuffled West at the top for a couple of teams. And we're sitting here in an early NBA with, I don't want to say injuries across the board for a couple of key teams that make you look at maybe the top three strength on the East, top West on the strength a little differently, but Kawhi out for weeks, plural. This Embiid scenario with Paul George in Philly, both those teams in the conversation for maybe third best team in their respective conferences. All that to say, this LA Lakers team, this 47-win Lakers team from last year that has a lot of continuity coming back in, comes out the gate against a Minnesota team. And let's just set the table here. Vegas doesn't really know what this line, I'm going to sit here and say, should really be on, again, a brand new Minnesota team we haven't seen and a JJ Redick debut, LeBron, Bronny, background B story, if we're calling this a Hollywood script for an NBA opening night scenario. So what do? They lay a pick'em. They lay it a pick'em. And at the end of the day, it was juiced a little more to the Timberwolves at minus 118 to a minus 106. Lakers home technical, better number, if we're calling it, but a pick 'em. And then you see the game ensue. And you see so crystal clear early. And yes, the box score, the 7-point win, doesn't really dictate what really by halftime we made an assumption of. And that includes Bronny being subbed in, which again, I was all for. I loved it. Griffey's courtside, big moment for LeBron, because I'll get to that in a minute. But when we're talking just ball here, a 33-19 second quarter, which essentially was the whole game. The Lakers won the game in the second quarter. And they won the game in the second quarter behind the anchor of their defense, Anthony Davis, and the pace in which they played and the zest in which they exuded. And you go to the JJ Redick press conference after, and he's asked a couple of questions that tee him up to really give you a little bit of a glimpse into the prep. And then, to me, as I'm watching, a light bulb kind of goes off. I remind myself, who was this man coached by in college? Mr. Coach Krzyzewski, Coach K, a certified leader of men, a military background, and a naval background, and a man that is so buttoned up with his X's and O's and so orderly and so, I want to say, just detail-driven, process-oriented, just leader from his way of doing things and how he outsources and how he resources with his staff. And then I'm going to give you a little example from a long time ago when I remember going to a Sweet 16 Honda Center, and I remember watching Duke was dancing that weekend. Their team came out, and everyone comes out. You all practice on the same court. You get your different allotted time when you're all playing on the same court that weekend. And they came out with Coach K and set up their whole workout and whole stretching routine. And it was almost so regimented. I was like, who's leading this? And Coach K was nowhere to be seen. And he comes out like 15 minutes later. This is well before layup lines, and basically hands behind the back and is observing. And essentially, I kind of got a little thought there thinking, this is a guy I haven't read his whole book, but you read a little bit about him. You listen to him talk about philosophy. You think about him as a Team USA coach. He's not a babysit kind of guy. He's an adult teaching and empowering young men and adults to think for themselves, to hold themselves accountable, to be responsible, and to be reliable for their teammates. And so you bring that into this JJ thought with this Lakers team, and you sit there and you go, all right, JJ Redick was a detail-oriented marksman shooter and a master at his role starting in college with 4 years under Krzyzewski back in the day where you play a whole four. I'm almost positive. I'm going to be really upset if he played 3 years and he did, but I'm almost positive JJ played 4. And he brings this methodical game plan with so clearly thought behind it to this Timberwolves game. And he wins the game by half. And you compare that to like an Andy Reid buttoned up off a bye moment, a Shanahan great first 15 scripted plays, pick a coach, pick a leader. The prep and the process, if it's done right, and he spoke to it in the presser, the game plan plays out to me in the prep and the organization before the tip, and then the game flow is the game flow. But the detailed thought behind what I thought was a really buttoned up game plan where you saw spacing, where you saw plays for Anthony Davis, you saw backdoor screens, movement. Again, I'm not huge on X's and O's, wrong pod to be out for that. We played the game a little bit, but this NBA is based off spacing, getting shooters in their spots, getting your scorers in positions to succeed. And it seemed like you had a couple of plays for some of these guys at the perimeter. You saw set organization with AD. You saw purpose. And then he sat there in the interview after and said, I made sure the emphasis was attacking the game the right way and competing at a high level and matching physicality of Minnesota. And let's just call what it is. Minnesota trades Cat for Dante and Julius. They got more dog. They got tougher. And if you sit there and watch that game against Minnesota, Lakers 9-1, sure, you have the home crowd. All right, that's fine. But who is a more physical, more dominant, more obviously imposing their will team in that 48 minutes? It was the Los Angeles Lakers. So let me just bring it to the betting board here. I'm utterly flabbergasted about what I'm looking at on the betting board for a Laker team that still has two arguably top 10 players in the league. How do we sit here and not say on any given Pacino Sunday, LeBron is not in the top 10 conversation for players in this league all world on a club where AD gives you 36 and well over 10 rebounds in a very good rebounding Minnesota team. I mean, go Bears in the top 5. That's what he's here to do, is be a DPOY and a board menace. And AD took it to him. But you sit here and you say, minus 134 to make the playoffs. Lakers. 50 wins plus 300. Okay? To win the West, 17-1. 17-1 of your money right here in mid-October, a week before trick or treat. 31st of October, 1,700 to win the West. 33-1 plus 3,300 to be the 1 seed. And 40-1 to win it all. Plus 4,000 to win it all. Okay. Let's just talk this out. You're off one opening night where the Celtics hit 29 threes and the Lakers have 72 points in the paint. Which would be more likely on a law of averages you would have on, again, a night-by-night basis, a better opportunity to achieve a number you won't get very many nights, 70-plus points in the paint, or a number that was one away from history in the NBA, 29 three-pointers? You'd probably say the former. So what I'm saying is, it's an NFL and a copycat league where everyone wants to be what you would say the current champion is. The Chiefs, the Celtics for this particular conversation. And what do the Celtics do? They hit threes. Well, what are the Lakers so clearly not going to be able to keep up with their roster versus Boston? Threes. It's evident. So you sit and you look ahead, you work backwards, you go, all right, we obviously have to improve our shooting. We have to put an emphasis clearly early and often on perimeter defense, but you also have to keep in mind our style of basketball. And it seems like JJ Redick's going to bring thought and detail to a roster that, to me, led by him, everybody liked each other, it seemed like, but they didn't really have direction. And talent needs direction. And talent needs coaching. And talent needs to be challenged. And LeBron at freaking 40 years old, and as, again, to his mind, achieved everything and every box he's needed to, which, again, I'll push back on, because a COVID ring in the bubble with the Lakers is not a Laker ring now. It just isn't. It isn't. So winning a real ring with the Lakers where you don't stop a season and all put everybody on the same court type scenario is, to me, another thing you can hang on the LeBron, obviously, meet the parents opposite Fokker medal board. But I digress. You sit here and you go, all right, you bring order and propriety and detail and accountability and responsibility to this Lakers team. You add in Dalton Connect 4, who, again, gave you his first 2 shots, butter, 3, butter. Gotta love it. Basket. Then you sit there and you go, all right, 5 guys in double figures. Rui Hachimura was told, need to be more aggressive. Comes out early in the first half, imposes his will, breaks double digits early, hits and lands with 18. If Rui's going to give you 18, which, again, he's going to be closer to 10 to 15 without question. He's going to land at 10 to 15 points per game night roll. But that's a game where D'Lo gave you 9. He typically gives you a little more, and then he goes off for 4 to 5 threes once every 10 games, and it's prolific, and a night where he carries the Lakers. And you remember 2 years ago in the playoffs, the Lakers had a lot of splits based off win and loss on D'Lo's shooting. You think about adding in one guy like Connect and reminding yourself that Gabe Vincent didn't play at all last season in roles that clearly Redick just knows how to spot talent and utilize talent. You can just tell. You can just tell there's rhyme and reason and thought behind what he does. And you sit there and you go back why it took so long time out Coach K and say, this guy is just going to be, is it fastidious? Just so particular. And even said it in the presser with the balls. He's neurotic. It's just had a joke there. I'm neurotic like that in a different way. But it's just to handle the pressure of home court opening night, Anthony Edwards, Bronny James, celebrities galore, pressure of the world on you, and show up and win that second quarter 33-19 and hold court. Even though Minnesota won the third quarter, you win the game. You check the box for the James family, which is huge. And you remind yourself that if Bronny's on this bench, you get a revitalized LeBron. And no one wants to sit here and just make that conversation. Just, is that not absolutely facts? We're emotional people. You don't think a guy that gets to bring his son to work when he feels like he's done it all can maybe give him an extra little oomph and a little pep in his step and a little extra, I'm going to show up on a back-to-back when maybe I don't need to and I wouldn't otherwise want to, or I'm going to give an extra effort here or there and just show him, which shows the whole team at the same time and the whole town and the whole basketball world, that this Lakers team may be locked in. So just say to yourself, so I don't go on and on, you have a potentially revitalized LeBron James locked in, his podcast host coaching, which we wanted to make a joke about in July, but we saw this guy's a ball nowhere and a detailed dude and can draw up plays. This team was lacking structure and play calls last year. They were just playing off of the two-man game. Now you start calling plays for Rui, for Reeves, for Russell to get open in spacing and hit shots and Connect, who's a new piece. Come on, dude. Sixth in offense last year, sixth in rebounding last year, 20th in D, but the defense was there. I mean, Julius Randle was lost at sea. Anthony Edwards, he had 5 threes, but he didn't get really impact going till too little too late. Dante was trying to find rhythm the whole night. And all right, they got to get better on the glass with 14 boards for Gobert, but that's a specialist in his category. This Lakers team gave you 5 guys in double figures, led by a 36-piece with AD, and potentially in the conversation for the best two-way player in the NBA. Am I allowed to say it? One eyebrow, one award. Come on, DPOY, start putting them in the conversation. So, to put a button on it here, a Lakers team that had 7 turnovers to Minnesota's 15. That's coaching. That is detail. That is top of mind situational basketball. You compare that to football, which I cap all day long. Do they protect the football? Do they win time of possession? Do they come out the gate with scripted plays with purpose? Do they play off of other teams opportunistically? All things to consider in basketball night to night. This Lakers team had 8 blocks to 1 in their favor, more defensive intensity, and won the steals battle as well with 7. They won the turnover battle. Obviously, I mentioned the 72 points in the paint. They won that by over 30 points. They shot 84% from the free throw line, 21-25. And oh, by the way, they won this game only hitting 5 threes. So you sit there and you go, how frustrating is it for a Knicks team that shot 55% as a team to lose to a Celtics club that put up 29 threes, and you say, oh my goodness, how do you beat a Boston Celtics team? You look at a script and a effort and a team one at that, like the Lakers against the Timberwolves. This Lakers team, who will play Phoenix in 2 of the next 3 games after that, has Cleveland on the road, which is a LeBron return tour, which will be, again, Bronny will be in that game, and they will show up effort-wise for that for LeBron. And then we're talking about Detroit and Memphis, is all the way back. Memphis is all the way back. They go against Memphis, then they'll play Philly, then they'll play Toronto, Memphis, sure, all right. But San Antonio, New Orleans, Utah, there's not a scary schedule per se in the first 15 games. And so 50 wins, 3-1 has to be in your thought process. Make the playoffs at minus 134 is ridiculous. If you have the means, take the money out from under the mattress. This is going to be not a playoff team. I know the West is jammed. The Rockets, are they ready? They lost opening night to the Hornets. All right. The Clippers took, with no Kawhi and only Harden, the Suns all the way to overtime, opening night. Denver's giving outrageous money to Aaron Gordon because the depth is Russell Westbrook contingent. Minnesota, who we thought was next man up, just changed course completely, ditching Cat. Oklahoma City has not been there and not done that. They're pups with SGA, sure, leading the way, but not, I'm still considering a top 5 player in the NBA. He's not. I don't believe he is. Luka and the Mavs. I'm just saying it's a good West, but I'm not that terrified when I look at the Western Conference with Lakers vision and optimism in mind and how I feel about how they're priced. I just think we're getting a number, and again, on the futures department, you can buy numbers and cash out profit before it ever cashes. So let's say you take the Lakers at 17-1 and 40-1, couple of times peppering it in, and they start to explode. They're a top 3 team in the NBA on the record schedule. They're 12-3 to start the season. You're going to cash out an ROI already, baby amount, but depending on how much you put down and you can afford, you'll get it. Also, minus 134 to make the playoffs ain't even going to be close. It ain't even going to be remotely gone. I just sit here and go, all right, this Lakers team in one game showed me effort, showed me organization, showed me hustle, showed me physicality, and showed me they have a coach that is going to put in game plans every single night and be buttoned up every single night. And this Laker team got by on talent last year. I'm telling you, to sit here early, okay, it's one game. Dude, it's the NBA. We've seen a lot of these guys play basketball. We've seen this team against the Denver Nuggets lose 2 games last year by 2 points in the first round. I mean, they didn't get blown out by the Nuggets again, who we consider top tier in the West. 40-1 is just absurd. This team could be in the NBA Finals. Am I out of my mind? If LeBron has one run left, if JJ Redick's a top 5 coach, can this roster, this is if Reeves and Russell are 15-point a game guys all season. AD and Bron are top 10 guys all season and into the playoffs. And a guy like Connect and a guy like Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt coming back, all these guys slip into these roles, clearly defined roles, and they're well coached and they're fundamentally sound. To me, it just looks like a tough team to beat. And I don't really look across the West and feel like this team is going to get out-coached too many times if we get an engaged LeBron. If we get an engaged LeBron, this Lakers team, all these numbers, I'd like to think, aren't here by Christmas. Give me the Lakers all the way, baby, across the board. 50 wins, I'm doing it. 3-1, have to. 17-1, sprinkle it. Okay? Little hot sauce on the breakfast menu. How you doing? Pepper it all over. And 40-1 to win it all? 40-1 to win it all. This doesn't include what could be on the trade market. Does Pelinka pull a rabbit out of a hat? Do they maybe get a Zach LaVine who's been on the market in rumors? Do they go out? Do they get a third piece? You just don't even know what could be if this Lakers team proves to be engaged and locked in early. And you cannot sit here and say Bronny's wasting a spot. Dude, he's giving life to a 40-year-old man who could easily take the Joel Embiid route this year if he wants. Lakers optimism, money line Monaco. I'm out. Sports gambling. Please subscribe, rate, review. Goes a long way. Moneyline Monaco across all social. It's the Lakers, baby. Let's go.